I didn't think of it as a problem at the time because, you know, it wasn't affecting my external self, I guess. I didn't notice the effects of, or the consequences of what it was doing and what was happening. I guess I was kind of blind to it. And one night, you know, I tried cocaine before, so I figured I'd snort some heroin up. And I figured, you know, it'd kind of be like the same as cocaine. So I tried it out and it was downhill after that.
United Methodist Bishop Sally Dick recently issued a call to action to help youth and young adults struggling with addiction. The denomination is supporting Rosecrance' Launch to Life campaign as they build a new treatment center on Chicago's North Side. For more, let's welcome Margaret Wenzel, Rosecrance Director of Development. We also welcome Mary Egan, Director of Outreach at Rosecrance. And we welcome Wes, who started using at age 15 and entered Rosecrance treatment program when he was 21. He's now been sober for 2 years. What is the Launch to Life program?
Rosecrance is opening our Rosecrance Lakeview site at 3700 North Ashland this summer, and the programs will focus on young adults. We'll have an outpatient clinic on the first floor and 3 floors of structured residence or sober living for young adults, both short-term and long-term, to support young adults as they newly enter recovery and to just reclaim their life and the good things of life.
Let's bring Wes into the conversation. Wes, do you mind sharing your journey and telling us more about your connection to Rosecrance?
Well, it all started, I was younger, and you know, I experienced with drugs and alcohol at a pretty young age, and I didn't really find myself fitting in too well. So I found myself kind of leaning towards, you know, drugs and alcohol, and it numbed me out to reality. And it gave me, you know, a warm feeling inside, so I kept with it for a while. This is just kind of the short version, but I didn't notice it becoming a problem until it started to affect, you know, my relationships, my physical appearance, family, and things like that, my job. So finally, my parents decided to have an informal intervention and kind of gave me the option of getting treatment or getting out of the house pretty much. So, you know, I ended up, after a long arguments, I ended up going to Rosecrance, and I loved it because it took me out of reality. It took away the external forces such as, you know, the internet, the media, radio, friends, my job, and it helped me focus on myself a lot. And in doing so, you know, I reconnected with my core and who I truly am and my values and things like that. And I also connected with my higher power. And you know, I walked out of there, and I'll never forget that serene feeling I felt after walking out.
So tell me about this connection between faith and recovery.
I think it's extremely important to have some type of belief in a higher power or whatever it may be. It's helped me in recovery because, you know, he's been with me every single step of the way. You know, he got me to where I'm at today. He got me the help I needed, and in doing so, you know, I'm walking down the right path finally.
Margaret, can you tell us about what's meant by a new vision of self as it relates to the Launch to Life program?
The idea of Launch to Life starts with the yearning of a young person to change what they want in their life, to achieve what's possible. It's really about their spirit and determination. It's in that same spirit that Rosecrance looks to bring our services where they're needed most. In 2010, we looked around at our existing inpatient programs and our recovery homes in Rockford and that area, and we saw that, number one, 65% of clients were from the greater Chicagoland area. And of those, the majority were young adults. We define young adults as 18 to 29. And these are young people who've had their lives interrupted. They've gotten off track because of substance use issues. And we believe that we can deliver the best chance that they can have to get back on track and to get back in school, achieve their academic goals, discover a career that they love. And that's the reason we exist, and that's the reason we are bringing this program to the Lakeview neighborhood. Rather than have families drive 2 hours to see their loved ones, we want to bring it home.
If you are a parent and you recognize behavior changes, what advice would you give to that parent?
Trust your gut when you're seeing changes. Don't use some kind of internal dialogue or denial to pretend that it's not there. Seek out professional help like Rosecrance. Talk to someone. There's so much stigma and shame that goes along with addiction that it's really important to reach out to others for help and assistance.
What seems to be the most rewarding for you working with the Rosecrance program?
Oh my, when people find recovery, because when people are in their addiction, their life is going nowhere, and Wes can probably speak about that. Recovery is about doing all the good things in life. Rosecrance's tagline is "Life's waiting" for a reason, is that the good things of life are there once someone enters in recovery.
When I was in my active addiction, I was extremely selfish. It's a self-centered disease. So no matter what it took, I was going to do whatever in order to get that next fix. It didn't matter if I had to lie, if I had to cheat, if I had to steal. I would do what I had to do it. And it's based around just being self-centered, But then when I got into recovery, on the flip side, recovery is also a little bit self-centered, because I have to do what's best for me in order to stay clean. So it's kind of two sides of the coin, but now I just do things for the right reason, the right thing for the right reason, not to get anything out of it, but just because it's the right thing to do.
And how did you get connected to Rosecrance?
Well, I was in detox, and my father actually called me, and he kind of narrowed it down to 2 places as he searched the web and said, listen, these are two of the best places that I found, and Rosecrance was one of them. And I ended up picking Rosecrance, one, because it was close to home, and also is because they actually had a gym at the facility. So I figured that would help me get up and move in again. And it was the best decision I ever made in my life. It truly was, because the structure within Rosecrance was it was unbeatable. They made me credible again. They put me on a schedule. They started to make me feel human again, because I was able to wake up in the morning, eat breakfast, and then throughout the day I had things to do. They kept me busy, which in turn kept my mind busy. So I didn't have a lot of time to think, bad thoughts or sit on the pity pot.
That's phenomenal. Margaret, I was wondering if you could talk to us about the growing need of the young adults in this generation who may find themselves struggling. We talked a little bit about the at-risk youth, because I was thinking that maybe this was an issue for just urban Chicago, but perhaps it leads to suburbia as well. So could you share that with us?
We are seeing unprecedented opioid abuse in young adults, and it is not an urban problem. It is a suburban problem, and it is a rural problem. It's everywhere, and it affects all communities and all families and all schools and all churches, all institutions. We have parents who are terrified because they are sending their children to nice schools. They live in nice neighborhoods, and all of a sudden this very ugly problem is at their front door, and they don't know how to approach it. They might be challenged with their own taboos. They don't want to talk about it. So delivering education is just as important as actually delivering treatment services.
Thank you, Margaret, Mary, and Wes, for sharing your stories with us. I'm LaShondra Stevens for Different Drummers and the Greater Chicago Broadcast Ministries. Keep the faith.